So Bret Stephens is a conservative and a New York Times author, and he wrote one of the dumbest things I've ever read recently. And it'll be no surprise to anybody that it involved millennial bashing. In fact, that was the whole point. The whole point of the article was to bash millennials. So let's go through some of this. He says, this is the title, "Dear Millennials, the feeling is mutual. Joe Biden dares to take offense at those who specialize in being offended." He says, earlier this month, a video of Joe Biden saying he had no empathy for the younger generation that tells me how tough things are resurfaced on social media. The video was over a year old, but it elicited predictable howls from members of the dissed demographic. Quote, "Nothing says perfect candidate to lead the most powerful nation in the world like I have no empathy," wrote someone with the Twitter handle @anarcho-priapism. That's pretty funny. My own reaction was different. Okay, I thought, I could definitely vote for Joe, provided he has the mettle to stand his ground. In this election cycle, no faction on the Democratic side more richly deserves rebuking than the one Biden singled out, which is not, of course, anywhere close to the entire millennial generation, roughly 80 million strong, or their younger siblings in Generation Z. But it is that part of these younger generations that specializes in histrionic self-pity and moral self-righteousness, usually communicated via social media with maximum snark. Gawker, Spawn, and HuffPo twerps, this especially means you. Now, he goes on to bring up, offended students on college campuses, which is, their go-to. That's all dialogue in certain circles in U.S. politics comes back to the offended college campus people. But he finishes with this. The sensible center of America, that is the people who choose presidents in this country, wants to see Donald Trump lose next year, but not if it means empowering the junior totalitarians of the left. Now is Biden's chance to make it clear he's just the man to fulfill that hope. So this is how deep the analysis goes for a guy like Bret Stephens. I will support you for president if you will just shit on those college kids. I didn't say it, he said it. I just read it to you, he said it. And he's saying, hey, listen, we all want Trump to lose, but only if, whoever else would win would put the junior totalitarians in their place. So in other words, if none of the Democrats are going to put the junior totalitarians in their place, well, then I'm fine with Trump winning. What? Okay, whoa. You're going to have to explain how you connect those dots. Because Donald Trump, for example, pulled out of the Iran deal, which is pushing us closer to war with Iran. It looks like his administration wants to do it. Neocons, John Bolton, Mike Pompeo, they're literally trying to push us to war. He's backing an illegal regime change coup in Venezuela, which is going to, by the way, further the immigration crisis and the refugee crisis. We're still bombing Iraq and Afghanistan. He did a massive tax cut for the rich and deregulated Wall Street further, which is leading to a further boom-bust cycle. We're going to have another explosion in the economy, as we're seeing right now in terms of the stock market, and then it's going to tank again at some point. He's absolutely destroyed the EPA, the FDA. They're arguing that the FDA doesn't have the right to regulate death penalty drugs, so that Food and Drug Administration doesn't have the ability to regulate drugs. I could sit here all day and just ring off policy after policy after policy that the Trump administration has implemented or is trying to implement that destroys the country. I mean, we're talking about, since he's been elected, 3 million people have lost their health insurance. Again, the list goes on and on. I can go on and on here. But Bret Stephens' analysis is, let me read it again. The sensible center of America, that is the people who choose presidents in this country, want to see Donald Trump lose next year, but not if it means empowering the junior totalitarians of the left. So, the Democrat better stand up to those damn fucking millennials, and if they don't, well, then maybe it's okay that Trump wins. See, here's what this guy misses. There is a fine line between petty, authoritarian social justice warrior campus kid whining and crying and bitching and moaning and trying to censor you or deplatform you, and young person who is correctly and accurately calling out your dumbass for saying dumb shit. In Brett Stevens' mind, that's the same thing. So when Twitter lights into Brett Stevens, because Brett Stevens has repeatedly argued that climate change isn't really happening, that's not, oh my God, this parade of totalitarian, millennials coming after me. No. That is people who are intelligent and people who are correct, who are saying to you, hey man, you're a dipshit. Hey man, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. You say really, really stupid shit, but you think you're genius. You're not genius. You're not even close to genius. So, but again, for him, it's a defense mechanism. Just lump them all in. So if there's a pink-haired kid trying to ban conservative speakers on college campuses and deplatform, well, that's the same thing as somebody who's accurately calling me out for being wrong about fucking 80% of the shit I talk about. And by the way, man, the reason why, there's a substantive reason why the thing that Joe Biden said is terrible. You said it yourself, there's 80 million millennials in this country about. And when you say, I have no empathy for the people I'm supposed to be representing, what does that mean? What are you going to do? Well, you're quite literally not going to govern in their best interest. You just said you're not going to. You just said you have no empathy. So when one of the 80 million people comes to you and say, hey man, listen, we got this serious problem and let me break it down for you. Here's what I'm facing. Here's why that's not okay. Joe Biden's thought process is, the default setting is, I have no empathy for you. Are you talking? Why are you talking? Step aside. I'm not interested in what you're saying. You want me to fix your problems? I don't even view what you're telling me as you having a problem. I don't agree that it's a problem. I think you need to shut the fuck up and pull yourself up by your bootstraps, you entitled little bitch. Now, that's his reaction. That's his reaction. Meanwhile, we are the generation, mind you, that many of us, including myself, we graduated into the worst economy since the Great Depression. That's when I graduated, 2010, the height of the Great Recession. So my generation, our generation, most of you listening right now, the demographics show the overwhelming number. Credit card debt out the wazoo. Insane amounts of student loan debt that they're struggling with and holding them back massively. Stagnant wages since the 1980s. The fact that it was the older generation that started 2 massive illegal wars and put them on the credit card, okay? And we're still bombing those countries, and in total it's 8 countries right now. We have a crumbling infrastructure. Half of workers making $30,000 a year or less. Many of them are millennials. The average net worth of people under 35 is $11,000. There are real problems, Brett, that we're dealing with. He makes it seem like all of our problems, he has this stereotype of millennials. Like all of us are sitting around going, I can't believe they didn't put a gay character in the new Disney movie. I can't believe that Ben Shapiro is going to give a speech at the University of Massachusetts. There's like not even 1% of millennials, Brett, are talking about that shit and care about that shit. You know what the rest of us care about? Real world problems. Real world problems. We're also the generation that you guys willy-nilly sent to go fight and die in an illegal and offensive war. And then when we speak up, I have no empathy for you. I don't have any empathy for you whatsoever. Mass incarceration massively affected our generation. I don't have any empathy for you. Biden was right to say he has no empathy for 80 million people who he's going to want to represent as president. You want to represent these people and you're telling them, I have no empathy for you. Well, then you're not going to be a good leader because you're not interested in fixing the problems that affect us because you don't even view them as problems. You view us as whiny little bitches. When in reality, and this is the irony of it all, you're the whiny little bitch. Brett, you are. Joe Biden is. You're whiny little bitches. Because everything, it's a knee-jerk reactionary response all the time. No. What you're saying is illegitimate. I'm not going to listen to it because it's illegitimate. So I have no empathy for you. Can you just relax for like 3 seconds and maybe hear us out and then make up your mind? No. Biden's right. He has no empathy and he better stand his ground. And this whole article was Brett Stevens saying people are mean to me on social media. That's the underlying thing going on here. That's why he's pissed. That's why he wrote this article. He has no empathy for millennials because he's a joke on Twitter. People fucking rip into him daily because he always says dumb shit. And instead of reading it and going, okay, maybe I'm being a little silly here on this point or this point, he doesn't do any of that. There's no self-reflection. It's all a defense mechanism, and he just swats it aside, and now I like it when a politician says they have no empathy for you. Well, thank you. Thank you very much. Damn near 80% of the country is living paycheck to paycheck. Like I said, credit card debt, massive amounts. Student loan debt, massive amounts. Wages stagnant. Tens of millions without health insurance. And your reaction is to trivialize the issues that all young people are facing and act like you're all just entitled and nobody should have empathy for you because obviously all you care about is like silly nonsense issues. No, actually, you're the one who cares about silly nonsense stuff because your article isn't touching on any real issues. Your article is just fucking low-level millennial bashing, which is the easiest shit and the dumbest shit I've ever seen in my life.